the time I got my scope ready, it was like I saw like the back half, and the front half was blocked by trees, and then it disappeared. It's like, well, the only way it could disappear is it made a right-hand turn into this thicket, which I guess is what it did. So anyway, you got better instincts than me, so I could learn, I'm sure. Okay, so where are we studying? I forgot all about what we were doing since I was gone last week. Ecclesiastes. So who do we think is the human author inspired by God? Solomon. Okay, and there's a few things we probably want to remember about Ecclesiastes. It's different, different than even Proverbs. In Proverbs, you could take a single verse or a couple of verses, and it stands by itself, and you can understand, you can make a sermon on it. Brother Jim, you probably have already, just on one or two parts of the Proverbs. Ecclesiastes, it's more of a, you got to take it all in. You got to take in the whole story of what Solomon's trying to say. There are verses in there that are important, memorable verses that do stand by themselves, but there's a lot of them in there that you really have to look at it all together to understand what's going on with the whole thing. And so here's Solomon. He's taken a step back from everything that's going on. And you can see from what was happening with Solomon in terms they built the temple, then he built a palace, and he was just a architect, builder, whatever. He's just building everything. And so he did all kinds of things. He learned all kinds of things. He had all kinds of things that he had set up and done. And I can just imagine that he's a project manager, program manager, just going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, doing all this stuff. The Lord made him wise, so he had the ability to learn and see and understand, and he applied those things. But even though we would say he's the richest person on the earth, we don't know compared to today, but for sure then he was. Sometimes we take a look at that from where we are and say, you know, I don't ever say if I win the lottery, because I have to buy a ticket to win the lottery, and I never buy a ticket, so I'm not going to win. But I hear people say that pretty much every day, right? It's if I just win that money, then my life will be trouble-free. I'll have every single thing I need and want. It's going to be the best and whatever. And what Solomon is saying here is, yeah, that's really not true. He's saying, you got to take a different perspective on things, and what he says at the very beginning is vanity. Vanity, all is vanity, and so which means it's meaningless. And so the message of this book, when you look at life with its seemingly aimless cycles and inexplicable paradoxes, you might conclude that all is futile, since it's impossible to discern any purpose in ordering of events. Nevertheless, life is to be enjoyed to the fullest, realizing it's a gift of God. And so it's not going to the finish line and, oh, wow, you know, I got $10 million, I'm across the finish line. It's not that, it's today. It's what we're doing right now. The Lord wants us to have joy in where we are and what we're doing and what we're experiencing. And it doesn't mean that it's not work. It doesn't mean that it's not serving the Lord. It doesn't mean that sometimes it's not difficult, because it is. But the satisfaction you have is knowing it's what the Lord wants you to do. And it does have meaning beyond this life that we're in today. It has meaning in the life to come. And there's nothing you're going to take with you. You can pack all kinds of things. You can do all kinds of things. You can get in great shape, which I definitely am not in great shape. After yesterday, I was definitely feeling it. You're not taking any of that stuff with you. All you're going to take is with you is what you did to serve the Lord. And if we did, great. If we didn't, then it's probably not going to go too well for us. If we're not saved, it's really not going to go too well for us. And so these are all the things that we have to take into account. And really the point is, the wise man will live his life in obedience to God, recognizing that God will judge all men. It doesn't matter what you accomplish on this earth. You go out of it the same way you came in. You start out with nothing, and you leave this world also with nothing. At least that's the way you look at it if you don't have God in your life. And so when you have God in your life, then it all has meaning on why you're doing what you're doing. And when you witness to somebody, when you help somebody, when you act like the Lord would act with somebody, as the example that Jesus set, then we're doing it right. That's what the Lord wants us to do. And well, you can say, well, sometimes people aren't very nice to me. Yeah, that's true. That's true a lot of the times. We just have to be nice anyway. Sometimes I'm not the nice person. I hate that, but that's true. We have to look at the Lord and the Lord, how he would have us to be, and that's what we should try to strive for and try to be every single day. For Ecclesiastes, this is our last for today. So we got a chapter 11 and 12, and then we got Song of Solomon next week. It's a lot of people's favorite from the looks of people here. We'll be going through that. That's a love story between Solomon and a Shulamite woman, and we'll learn all about that next time. But for this time, we have the last two chapters really talk about not just having wisdom, but the application of wisdom. And so, godly wisdom is intended to be much more than just memorizing things. There's a lot of people that can memorize scripture, that can recite scripture, they can say it back, 20 times, they can give you 20 verses right off the top of their head, but do they really know what it means? And if they know what it means, do they apply it? And so hopefully we do, and by taking the Lord's words not just into our mind, but into our body, soul, and spirit, then it helps us understand what God wants us to do. And when I pray pretty much every morning on the way to work, and sometimes I pray that the Lord will help me remember what I've studied at the time that I need it, whenever something happens during the day, that rather than my normal reaction to something, that I actually think what the Lord wants me to do and maybe take a second, and I would respond a different way because of the way he's taught me. So having wisdom, which is knowing what to do, is not the same as applying it. So Solomon, he might have been next to Jesus. He might have been the wisest person that walked the earth, but did he apply every single thing that he knew? Doesn't seem like it. He had 1,000 wives and concubines. That doesn't seem like a very wise decision. But that's was part of his life. In our studies, actually, we should just go ahead and start reading. Let's go ahead and do chapter 11, which is only 10 verses, if somebody would like to read that.
Where the tree falleth, there it shall be. He that observeth the wind shall not sow. He that regardeth shall not reap. As thou knowest not what is the way of the Spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child. Even so thou knowest not the works of God, who maketh all. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thine hand. For thou knowest that whether shall thou prosper, either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. Truly the life is sweet, and a pleasant thing it is to the eyes to behold the sun. Let a man live many years, and rejoice in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that cometh is vanity. Rejoice, O young man, in the youth, and let thy heart cheer. the end of days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thy heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. But know that all these things die in judgment. There, who saw childhood and youth are vanity.
Thank you, Sister Doris. Okay, so as we get into this, my book has sort of a title of this, Counsel in View of the Aging Process of Life. Do any of you feel like you're aging? You do, yeah? Feel old? I definitely feel like I'm aging. Mitch and I went to sight our rifles in, and we usually take something to put on the concrete bench, and I didn't. And we both scratched our elbow, and I got the biggest sore on there now. He does too. And it makes me feel old because, like, when you're a kid, something doesn't hurt more than a couple of days usually. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So aging process is something we all deal with, and it's a natural order of things. That's the way God intended it to be. This first verse, cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. So what do you think about that? Does it really mean throw your bread in the water? Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So giving food to people that need it, that's important. Giving help to people that need it is important. Mm-hmm.
We each individually should help those that truly need.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Lord expects us to do that. And what did Jesus say is, do it for them just like you're doing it for me, right? I don't know the exact verse, but it says something like that. What about this second verse? Give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for thou knowest not what evil shall be upon the earth. Yeah. Yeah. How often are we the one that needs help? You could drive out of this parking lot this afternoon and have a flat tire, and in a second, you're the one that needs help, right? And so we don't know. We don't know anything. Or maybe something could happen to somebody in our family. Lord forbid that it would, but something happened to somebody in our family, we need a different kind of help. And so there's all kinds of help that we can receive. There's all kinds of help we can give. Lord expects us to provide that. And it's part of our life. It's not a special thing to help somebody. We should just help people. Mm-hmm. Right. Or if you have it beside you and you say, come back tomorrow, that also tells us not to do that either. Yeah, right. Yeah, the parable of the Good Samaritan. I love that story. I heard it again within the last week or so. And the person that was asking the question of Jesus answered back, there was only one possible answer. It was, who's my neighbor was the question. And the way he told the story, Jesus only gave one possible solution, which is you need to be the person that's providing help. And my grandfather, Claude Wilkins, so he was an awesome fisherman. He worked for Tennessee Valley Authority, all that stuff. He was always helping people, just always. And he was coming up with stuff, like he made a deer tree stand for me. Now, if I tried to get on that right now, it would pretty much break into several pieces. But where I was at the time he made it for me, I think I was 125 pounds or something. It was plenty good enough for me then. So, but he was always helping somebody. He was always just, my grandma, like, what are you doing? You know, this is days before a cell phone. Oh, I stopped by and dropped off something, or I stopped by and helped somebody. And she's like, you're making everybody's dinner late. What's going on? And I know she appreciated him doing it, but that was just kind of how they were together. But it's an important thing. It's part of our life. It shouldn't be a special thing to help somebody. It should be something we just do. We just help people all the time. Verse 3, if the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if the tree fall toward the south or toward the north, in the place where the tree falleth, there it shall be. And so immediately I thought of the tree that fell on Mitchell's car a few months back. And it was part of our front yard tree, and it just fell. If your car's like a rectangle, it just fell right across like that. The windshield was busted out like this much. Roof was crunched in some. Shaved off the door handle. It was buried under a tree. You couldn't even see the car. That's how much it was there. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then it took two guys a couple hours to get the tree out of it so we could see where the car actually was. And he ultimately got it fixed. It took him almost 3 months to fix it. And it was one of those places that they fix classic cars. And so they said, well, you know, we got a long line ahead of you. We'll work it in as we can. And they did. And they did an amazing job. You can't even tell. If you look at it now, you can't even tell. But at the time it happened, Mitchell was not having a good day. He was pretty upset about that. And that happens to us, right? All kinds of circumstances happen to us. A tree falls. Lots of trees have been falling, destroying people's homes. We saw that in St. Louis this year with the tornadoes. It just happens. It just happens. That's just how things happen. The clouds will be full of rain. They empty themselves. How many times have we seen floods? You guys remember the flood of '93 and what that was like? I mean, it was just crazy how much water we had around everywhere. And, you know, right there at Mississippi and Missouri River was like a big lake from all the water. And it's just, yeah. And then look at more recently the people in Asheville, North Carolina. And so it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when and where it's going to happen, right? And it's just the forces of nature at work. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you just accept it, right? Yeah. 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 And don't think, oh, what did the Lord do to me, right? It really isn't that. That's just how the order of things is set up. And so here in verse 4, he that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. And so back then, they didn't have all the weather radar stuff we have now. We take that for granted, right? Every single morning you wake up and you look at the weather. Yeah.
If you got wind, not going to go out, so, well, it may be windy, it may not.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to be sowing, go sow.
Right.
If you got crops in the field and it's time to harvest, and you look at the cloud and think, well, I think it might rain today, I'm gonna stay. No. Go out and read. If it rains, then stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And in our lives, we can do 90% of things right, and you still don't get the result, right? You can do 90% of everything right, and the last 10% you don't. And you won't get anything. That's the way the Lord has it set up.
stage in life of life.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid trying my best to talk Grandpa, it's gonna rain today. And he'd say, well, if it does, come in.
Yeah. 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 It's what's going to happen is going to happen. If you don't take any action, nothing is going to come out of it. Verse 5. Actually, I have this one marked in my Bible. As thou knowest not what is the way of the Spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so thou knowest not the works of God who maketh all. God doesn't tell us everything. God didn't tell Solomon everything. Solomon was the wisest person on the earth, except for Jesus, and God didn't tell him everything. He told him a lot of things, but he didn't tell him everything. And we've been looking at Abby's baby pictures, and they can do everything now. They can do like a 3D imaging and all this other stuff, and you can see what the baby looks like and all that, and how it's growing, and from month to month, all that is just unbelievable. This way that God has of doing things, and we see it and we observe it. We certainly can't replicate it or try to do something that say it's the same. It isn't.
I get this newsletter, and it has all these scientists, and they talk about literal garbage. And it's fact. They've done, they've discovered this, and what they've discovered isn't right. The scripture is always right, and
Yeah.
they come up with years of creation and so forth, all the different things that they write about. And I get somewhere between amused and angry that educated men can be so, excuse the word, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He made it so that it works.
Yeah.
Because he's God.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah, we're just part of it. Exactly. I pretty much spent my whole life working with engineers and around engineers. I recognize the Lord as an engineer. He's so much more than that, but he's definitely also an engineer. And you can see his hands in everything. Every single thing, from the biggest thing to the smallest thing, the Lord is in it.
It's important that make possums because they eat ticks.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's good.
And possums is where we get antivenom for snake bites.
Oh, wow. I guess I got to eat more possum then. I don't know.
Science did a wonderful thing in that they discovered that possums can take as many as 100 venomous snake bites and not be harmed. And they somehow use resistance to poisons to make antivenom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he made them that way. Wouldn't you hate to be that experimental animal? Yeah.
Nature is so intricate.
Mm-hmm.
Everything works perfectly until man.
Yeah. And everything's connected. Everything is connected. That's the other thing. We see all these things, all separate things. They're not. They're all connected. And so it's just amazing. It's amazing what the Lord has done. Let's keep going. So in verse 6, in the morning, sow thy seed, in the evening withhold not thy hand. So it says, don't take a break in the evening, just keep working. because you don't know whether it's going to happen. And when you plant seed, you don't know what's going to happen. It could flood, it could be storms, it could be anything. It may not come in, right? Look at famine. We see in the Bible many times where there's famine, where for years and years there was nothing that came in. But you usually don't know that ahead of time necessarily. It just happens to you. Verse 7, truly the light is sweet and a pleasant thing. It is for the eyes to behold the sun. It sure is. When we've had rain and rain and rain and we walk outside and the sun's shining, don't you just feel like, wow, this is awesome? And it just, how much we take for granted just that we even have the sun for us. If man live many years and rejoice in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that cometh is vanity. And so it's just natural that we're going to have hard days and bad days. It's just part of how the Lord set things up. And we just, as long as we follow God and we fear God, God will help us through all those times. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart and in the sight of thine eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. And so he's saying definitely celebrate our youth, but don't use it as an excuse to just do everything, right? Everything you can think of. Remember the Lord, even in your days of your youth, that you follow him like you should. Therefore remove sorrow from thy heart and put away evil from thy flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity, which means they're gone pretty fast. So, which they are, we're all example, right? Well, not everybody, but most of us. So. Yeah, enjoy it. Yep. That's true, and God's the only one that can give you peace too. So if you're looking for peace, the Lord is the one that's got it, and nobody else has it. And actually, I don't know that anybody else is really advertising that they have it. If you look at all the different other things, it's just saying, oh, hey, look, you can have this, you can have that, and you have the other thing. They don't say peace and all that stuff. Maybe they will sooner than later, I don't know. But people think they'll have peace, but they actually don't. Okay, let's go ahead and read chapter 12, and that's through verse 14.
Remember now the Creator, the days of thy youth, while the evil days come on, or the years draw nigh. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not dark, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble,
Thank you, Brother Homer. And you hit the conclusion there too. And so we read all this stuff, and I gave kind of an outline of things, which if you looked at any one thing, it might seem like it's depressing for sure. But if you look at this, it says, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. If we focus on that, is any bad thing going to happen to you? Sure. You have to go to the doctor? Yeah, pretty much. It's just how it's set up. That's how it's set up. How the Lord set up everything. So if you recognize God as the one in charge and that put everything together the way that it is, then we can just worship him and thank him, and also ask for his help. He wants us to ask for his help. How many times in the Bible do we see the Lord wants us asking for his help? What about Israel? They asked for his help. When they did, they made it out of Egypt. Look at that. And then it didn't take too long, they forgot. And then what happened? You know, when they went into Ai, right? It's like, oh yeah, we're just going to go take this small little group of people. No, Lord doesn't want you to take it that way. The Lord wants you to do it with him. So they did. So over and over again, if you look at the people in the Bible that were punished by the Lord, it was for not fearing and following the Lord. And so we have to do that. We have to fear and follow the Lord. Whatever situation comes up, ask the Lord's help. Lord, please help me with this. And it's definitely been my experience that he does. And we should just remember that the Lord, he's there for our salvation, but he's also there to help us each and every day. So in this chapter 12, we talked about remembering our Creator in the days before difficulties come up. And if we don't remember the Creator earlier in our life, usually people don't later in their life. And so early in your life, it's good to think about the Lord. It's good to be saved. It's good to make a decision to follow the Lord. If you don't do that, it's unusual for people to come back later just because they're used to living a completely different way. Then in verse 7, 12 and 7, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Do we think about that? That God gave us our spirit? That's where it came from. It didn't just pop out of nowhere. The Lord gave it to us. And when we die, that's going back to be with the Lord. And this body that we have, whether we're ready to trade it in or not, it's up to each other one of us. Some of us, yes, some of us maybe not, but it's just going to go right back to the dust where it came from in the first place. And so, yeah. Your teeth are gone. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of things happen. Just
You don't have the physical capability. When I was a teenager, I knew a man who said, I'll serve the Lord when I retire. He was a saved man many, many years. But he said, when I retire, I'll have more time and I'll serve the Lord. He retired. His health went bad immediately and he died.
mm-hmm.
And he never had that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really
Mm-hmm.
the energy is in the youth.
Mm-hmm.
The wisdom is in the
Mm-hmm. And we only have a certain amount of time. There's not too much. Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, what are we going to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? There you go. Right. So if you're putting something off, yeah, I'd like to get up on the roof and do that project. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Your dad doesn't need to be on the roof anymore. Can you get up there?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
He was walking when we built the addition on the top of everything, because we built the basement first, and then we did the other one, the other part. He was just walking on the roof, and just scared us to death, afraid to the walls. Yeah, trusses, yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
scared us to death.
It's easy to do. There was a person that I knew back when I was a teenager. He wanted me to be a roofer with him, which I could have done it, and I needed the money. He wanted me to date his daughter. She was nice, but I thought, if I'm working with him, and he wanted me to marry his daughter too, I was like, if I end up doing this, then that's going to be an interesting situation. So I did not. I picked somebody else, sitting right over there. She's smiling. Than she was for a second. To start thinking about it. Yeah, exactly.
Carry it over and put it in the plant. Look at me today.
You don't want to do that today. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, verse 7, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. That's where we're going. We're going to be with God. We don't know when it is. Could be today, could be tomorrow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so if we're smart, we'll be ready for that, right? We'll think about that today. And so it seems like some things that the Lord will ask us is, what about these opportunities when you had to do something? Why didn't you do something? One of the things that Darla and I do is watch YouTube videos. I don't know why we do this all the time, but we watch, one of the watch we've been watching lately is about shoplifters, and they got the biggest, longest stories to tell about different things. Ultimately, it always ends the same way, but when we're facing the Lord, we're not going to have a big, long story. Not going to have it. He's going to have all the truth, and There's nothing we can do or say. The judgment will be the judgment. Okay, well, I'm done a little bit early today. Brother Mike got me thinking about eating. We talked about it at the beginning, and I've been thinking about it ever since. So is this a good time to have a snack before we? There's some pecan pie back there, I think, Darla, right? Yeah?
He took the rest up to the car.
Okay. Any other stories? Anything I want to say?